I started the meeting.
Okay, good. Okay, should meeting come to order? Is that what I need to do?
Oh, yes.
Meeting come to order?
Yep, and then we just gotta follow normal protocol.
Should you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, meetings come to order to discuss general code and editorial and legal analysis for the town of Manlius. So we are going to go code by code and talk about some of the recommendations that us as a planning or zoning board has, and so they could bring these to the town board with our recommendations.
Do we need to have the others here to do this?
Yes, we do.
Well, we don't have quorum. I mean, it's during a discussion. We don't have a quorum right now. It is a public meeting because we called it, but we can carry on.
Yeah, I don't think we're making motions for anything. We're just taking back suggestions to the board. It's a kind of brainstorming kind of thing, so I don't.
So none of the other brains are here, but some will be here, and that's it.
And you've got Claire's suggestions,
And
right?
Claire's
So that's more for
Yeah.
people, and I did get comments from. You got them too.
Eric?
Not Eric, that was planning board stuff. We're good, we're okay.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry, it was a planning board person.
Okay. So. Bear with me because I'm a little confused. So we should go to the first one?
Do you want us to lead this? Because we've been through this so
Yes,
much.
please. That would be appreciated.
I don't want to take this away from you, but
Tom, I'm good with that.
we've done
This is
so
fine.
much of this that I can kind of walk. So as you guys heard, this started in 2019 as a kind of call it cleanup of the code. They didn't do a lot of the in-depth analysis and review, but they did what I'll call like the cleanup, where they looked at other municipalities. So it started off, we're going to do the color change of the new book. So everybody will have the new color book, so differentiate the previous code to the current code.
Okay.
They started off with some of the terminology here. That is under the very beginning, where it has, counselor to, it had counselor, it had councilman to counselor.
Where are you at?
Page 8.
Page 8. So the first page 6 is to do the
Color
color changes.
yeah.
The green, the cover letter being white, and clear, first black and white logo. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
So any suggestions on us? Is that what we're thinking for the color changes?
No.
Okay.
I think what we need to do is, and I was just saying this to Tom, I think we just need to go into the zoning chapters
'cause
where there's changes that may need to be made, because all the stuff in the beginning of the book is really, doesn't affect the zoning board. It's more
Mutual aid,
for,
procurement policy, tree
Yeah.
commission,
That's
animals.
more for the board to make the decision on.
Okay. And so give me a page number that you would like.
That's right. Is there anything, swimming pools?
Swimming pools is code compliance for the way it is written in to ensure that our local legislation is in line with any new state requirements that come about.
What, can I go back?
That's 42.
Okay, I need to talk to you. Claire did put something in there for about page 18. It should be more than $15 because it's delivered in person. I believe the cost of labor is higher. I'm just reading Claire's notes.
Carrie, is this on our website?
The
This?
the electronic copy, I have an extra paper copy if you'd like. It's,
I wanted to.
yep, if you go to, the agenda center,
Okay.
under the town board work sessions for the
Okay.
April 10th, I think was the meeting.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome. So 18, what was it,
I'm assuming subsection G at the very bottom of 18, establish a fee of $15 for the issuance of a summons to enforce any section of this article.
so with the fees and everything, after speaking to Judge Rothschild and the police, chief, our fees are based off of the legal end of it, the penal law. So we really aren't changing any of the fees. We're going based off of penal law and what their suggestions and what they can basically issue for a violation. So the legal fees, we have left at the recommendation of the judge and Chief Casalia.
Or if it's part of the SPC contract.
Yeah,
Okay, so I will
If-
tell. See contract,
SPCA contract for like dog control and stuff
Or as
like
Terry
that.
stated, what is required by law.
okay,
So we might not have any, we have limited flexibility on
that. Okay.
those.
and then the other one, she did say on page 19, the permit cost should be higher. So she agrees with that.
Okay, yeah, and that's basically the same thing as far as the,
The guidance has come from.
yeah.
Oh, on page 24, she said, on D, under presenting and other danger to the health and safety, morals, and general welfare of the public, she wants and environment. She suggests and environment.
That is gonna be one where I saw, so the unsafe buildings or structures, I saw the revisions that may come through for the 2025 New York State Code, and I think we are going to try and
Match that.
echo that. We are looking at doing 2 new local laws, one for general property maintenance, which would affect what the town can do for properties, and then possibly modifying our unsafe buildings, but I think we want to stay as close as possible to what New York State has.
Okay, but we don't wanna put, her recommendation was just environment.
We can,
But I want, it, you know?
but at the same time, I think that's gonna be up to our attorney's discretion, because if I cite something for that, he would have to be able to prosecute it in court.
Okay.
We can look at it, if it is something that is involving the environment though, I would assume the EPA or the DEC would be able to take jurisdiction over the local municipality.
I love it.
So Carrie, what I would suggest is I will add that onto the list of suggestions and we can present that to the board, adding environment in there to that one. That way, at least they're seeing the suggestions, whether they do or not. Again, whatever we do here are gonna be the suggestions of the ZBA. Whatever the board decides at that point is gonna be on the board, but we'll definitely bring that one
That's what
forward.
just Claire said, okay.
Sorry that I'm a few minutes late.
That's kind of rude, just kidding.
Okay, we're on page 42, you said? Does anybody have any suggestions, the pages before the 42?
I have others, but
Well,
What do you have?
What do you have?
I made a lot of notes.
okay. Well,
Start at the beginning,
give us the page that you're on and,
or the page to start at?
Did you want to start here for,
Well, this
because
is-
this is mostly zoning stuff?
Correct. Let's do the zoning stuff and then we
Yeah,
can go back to
That's-
the
I
rest.
like that idea.
yeah,
That work?
that's fantastic. That way we hit the main
Okay.
portion. What page is zoning on?
42.
I don't think we would have these.
42 is swimming pools, which we're just trying to align with the state.
Well, technically, the part before it is too. It is and it isn't, because it's small cell wireless, but that fall, it would technically be planning board. But I had a question on 42. Where was it? Part highlighted explains why Spectrum had to go in the order. By the way.
The part highlighted what?
The part highlighted
Mhm.
explains to a T why Spectrum had to go
The
to
planning
planning
board.
board first. Oh, no, I clarified my question, sorry. It was about the fee. So,
Oh,
You're in there?
yeah, so you're
It was-
good with fees?
Yeah, there's a couple I have questions on, but like this one, I was just clarifying it was $250 per day.
Okay, so what we just discussed, because Claire had a couple of questions about fees. The fees, after consulting with Judge Rothschild and Chief Casalia and things like that, we're kind of confined to the law as to what we can.
Right, that's what I understood from the
Yeah.
last meeting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we really
There
can't,
were just some spots where there's a few little things through here that don't jive,
okay,
so I just thought I'd point them out.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
So,
so we're looking at swimming pools,
Anything on that?
anything on
so
that?
that's just removing 720 and 744, which makes sense. And again, I know, can I ask questions that are out of the purview of ZBA?
You sure can, and we can try our best to answer them. If I can't answer them, I'll get you an
Alright,
answer at the
so-
next work session.
This next one's an assessment one,
Yep,
right? In the paragraph under the link, it said that the 50% exemption is set at 24,000.
Yep.
For seniors. That number seems extremely low and really old to me. And I
so,
think if you read further, it goes back to 2006.
yep, so the assessment, this chapter, Pat is supposed to be reviewing it
Okay.
and updating it as need be to bring
Okay.
it up to date, so.
24,000 even for a senior seems like an extremely low number in 2024.
Yeah, the guy I golfed with, all his
Same as down
money
there
is
too, right, this
through
one here?
Yeah,
the state, and he makes more than that.
Is reviewing.
yeah, and it goes to the section in the back.
Yeah.
But it does reference back to 1992 and then 2006, so I wasn't sure which of those dates it was using, but
Yeah, Pat is supposed to be reviewing them. I'm hoping that when we gave this to him, it was during their busy period, so he didn't get a chance to do it before the last work session, so.
that's all I need on this one, man.
Okay,
What page are you on?
we're on page 43. He was looking at, A, if you look, it says 50% exemption is set at 24,000. And then if you go to the bottom on B, under the decision, it says, 50% must be granted at 29,000 for a lot from 2006.
Yeah.
So that's on page 43 at the bottom. Just questioning, do we need to update that to be more than 2002, 2006? And Pat Duffy, the assessor, was reviewing it. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
Okay.
low.
What's that?
Seems low.
I'm sure there's updates for it. I just unfortunately do not have those.
Okay.
So then, on page 46, Article 2 and Article 3 would also be Pat's purview.
Yeah, so Pat is gonna be from page 43 all the way through,
Converted, okay,
all the way to 54.
or how about the vehicles and traffic?
Oh, I'm sorry, 53. Yep, so all the way through 50 to 53 to chapter 139.
So we really can't look at this until Pat makes his revisions.
Right, and to be honest with you, that his revisions are probably gonna be what's as the law or the state, whatever the state's looking at. So
Okay.
I'm not sure they're going to make revisions as far as that goes, except for based on what he has.
Okay.
And that last part of, part B on page 52, towards the top.
Yep.
The way that that's written, wouldn't it make more sense for that to be annual so that the town keeps a better track of it? I don't know, if that's just a question to ask Pat.
Under C.
Yeah,
Under B,
B.
on page 52.
The way it's worded, they file that exemption once. And nothing's done after that,
I gotcha.
but things could change,
Right,
right? So
okay, let me, I'll write that down.
Actually,
it just, from a legal standpoint, it reads a little
not
funny.
required to refile each year.
So you're talking about that little, that
Yeah.
right underneath B.
The
and
part
C.
that's like highlighted or.
It's underlined.
Underline.
Yeah,
Thank
Yep.
you, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah. I got you.
Copy.
Okay.
And then the next page, 139 is, so it's under the purview of the police department.
yes. Yep.
The section B, where it says it's only a $20 fine, is that the police department that collects that? Or, I mean, the police department would fine the person for that, but
Are you talking about section B?
yeah,
I believe that's something the court would be collecting because they're gonna get a ticket for it.
right. Okay.
Claire thinks it should go up to 50.
I kind of agree with that,
Yeah, unfortunately,
but
again,
it's.
that's a
New York
penal law,
State
New York
penal law.
State thing, we can't.
Okay. We're guided by New York State law.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anything else on the vehicle and traffic, which is chapter 139? Warren,
Mhm.
you have anything on that one?
No.
Okay. All right, so we are on to the water, chapter 147.
So in the part where it says decision, the third decision above chapter 155, and it's where it standardizes the penalty, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't clarify, so that right above it, it talks about per Onondaga, or like Aqua's fee schedule,
yep,
but it doesn't clarify, does that penalty go to Aqua or the town? That 250 for 15 days?
I do not know the answer for that.
Because like if my water gets shut off and I was to go pay Aqua, I don't also get a bill from the town. Well, I mean, I don't know, I've never had it happen, but
So is this a code that's by the Aqua and not the town?
yeah, because
Sounds like it would be.
that 250 for 15 days is like the common occurrence through this whole document.
Mhm.
So I was just,
that is where the penal code
It's
and
like
all
the
that,
threshold.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
the threshold for it. But you're wondering if we should be adding, figuring out if it's a town,
it's just not clear.
It would be a town violation.
But do we get the money for
Because
it?
it's almost like the top one.
I don't think we get the money for most violations we issue. We get a small.
Well, that's good. That's effective.
Jamie, right, how much, do you know how much that, like, in a local, right, so, it goes to the
It's a
state, and yeah, and then there's,
If you get fined by the court.
yeah,
That one doesn't matter.
there's court fees, state, and then. But for Aqua, similar to our fee schedule for building permits, when I spoke with them, they just said to base it on their current fee schedule in case it changes. And but you're right, you would have to go to Aqua if you have a meter issue or
You want
something
those
like
to the
that.
town, so
yeah.
that's where that second one just confused me.
but if you look at C, I think the difference with this one is the imprisonment.
Yeah,
And that's where that $15 a day comes from. That comes from the legal end of it,
right.
where the rest is based off of just the Aqua. Do you see what I'm saying? Not, the other one doesn't say anything about the imprisonment,
Okay.
but I will ask for
It's just,
clarification
yeah,
on
it's
that.
just a little fuzzy to me.
Yep, no, we'll get
I
clarification.
think that would be, I don't know who would enforce that, because I think when it talks about that, it talks about provisions of the chapter, it talks about you going and opening up a fire hydrant as a citizen. Like we would go, like the police might use that local code,
Well, that's a violation, yeah.
right?
So the police can follow through on that, but
Yes.
they're, but
And
this
then
is
there's,
speaking
well,
more to the resident. If the resident doesn't pay and their water gets shut off.
No, can you read what C says in there?
well, I think this is like, this at 147.13 is a general, any violation of this chapter. Let's see, we should probably review this because 147.11 says it shall be the duty of the water superintendent. And we should, unless Aqua has a water superintendent, but that's for like a local municipality that has their own water and a water department. But that, yeah, if you were to do an illicit connection or use the hydrants, but payment for service meter readings discontinued by customer, that has its own due date penalty for,
So you may wanna look at, is that what you're saying is because of 147.11, we need to kind of maybe look at that and 147.13 the same? So, I mean, at the same time?
I think 147.13 just gives a catch-all for everything within the water chapter. But we may want to look at 147.11 as it notes a water superintendent, which unless it should probably say, it shall be the duty of Onondaga County Water Authority
Instead, because we don't have
to
a,
enforce the regulations.
okay.
Okay.
But that still doesn't answer the question about where the money goes to.
Well, that one being a violation, I'm going to assume that's gonna go to the court.
Okay.
That's gonna be something illegal that they've done as far as like opening the hydrant or still using the services.
Should that then be defined in there?
I don't necessarily think so, because then you have to define every single penalty, define where it's gonna go. Is that necessarily a code thing? I don't think it's a code, I think that's totally different.
Right,
It's two different.
I would leave that.
When you go, I think the way to look at this is when we're going through and you see penalty or violation, that's all
It's a
that.
court.
Yeah, that's a court thing. And that's where we're bound by law as to what the fee is going to be.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to clarify, because it read funny, so.
No, I totally get it.
I think this
I read
is,
enough legal documents, but usually I get involved.
All
I
right.
think this is similar to that of noise for penalties, where it talks about that 86-16, which I don't know if it's in here, talks about penalties for noise violations.
Okay.
And I think it's just, if the police don't have they could use the local law if they don't have anything in the penal law.
All right.
Should we go to chapter 155 zoning?
Yes.
Can I back up to page 41? At the bottom, section should be changed to 129.59G. Which section? Like, we're on small cell, right?
So, right, yeah.
But if
I actually had that same question, but because we started on 42, I didn't ask it.
Well, I don't know if it's the same question, but I'm very confused about what is being changed here and where. 'Cause I'm in that one.
There's a couple of them that say changes, and I'm like, what were they?
What were they before?
I'm looking at, yeah.
Well, you also have to remember that this is just the bits and pieces of the whole town code book that they decided to change. So
Right, but I'm looking at the code, right? I'm looking at the actual code.
up here, it talks about on the next page, or the top of 41.
The local law adopted the changes.
There's new chapter 129 in order for it to be incorporated alphabetically in the table context, and the chapter number be changed to chapter 110. I don't,
Right, but what section is being changed to 129.59G?
So if the 2.2G, if I remember correctly, when Allison and I went over this, so if you look just above that C,
Well, let's talk about what I'm looking at right now. I'm looking at section 129,
It's permit applications.
right? Permit applications.
Can you pull it up on the big screen?
Yeah, can you guys see this?
Yeah.
129
Right.
to
129-2 we're on? Okay,
Because this says 129.59.
scroll down.
right, and then it's,
Keep going.
I can't figure out what's being changed there. Or where.
You're going too fast. I can't keep up with your scrolling.
Well, this is 5, right? We want to go 124
No, we want 129,
dash.
5.
Permit applications.
Yeah,
right?
and then go down to G. Or 9, actually 9, I think it's,
There it is.
so,
Effective of permit, a permit from the town authorities in the public growth.
I just don't understand. what's being
Scroll up a
changed.
little bit for me. Keep going to the start of that. All right, 129.5. So now scroll down back to the G. So if you look just above where that decision is, I think it's just got the extra 9 in it. It says the last sentence of section 2.2G.
2.2.
2G does not make sense.
Right, there is no 2.2G.
There's,
So I think we just have an extra 9. It should be 129.5G.
Shouldn't have a
Okay.
129, okay, so it shouldn't have a
There we
9
go.
there?
Yeah, it should not have the 9. That was just a typing error. So it
Okay,
should
so let's
be,
fix that.
Yep, I
Now
will. Yep.
now that makes a little more sense. So we're at 129.5 G.
G.
Okay, so now we're there. We're looking at effect of the permit.
Doesn't include whole structures. Is that what that one's for?
So.
Yeah, public road.
so they want to change the last sentence to what C says.
So, okay, so I'm at the bottom of the page where it says D, right after we've got that big section should be changed to 129.5, now it's G, great. Next section, section 2.5BI,
I.
where is that?
Section 2.5.
2.5BII. Is it in 129?
it should be because we're still in chapter 129.
There's B.
So we're,
2.5.
2.
So is it right there, that 2? Under B?
2.45B.
Scroll back up a little bit. Yeah.
I do, I don't see the I.
too fast. Told you to make me motion, so.
Journaling 4 minutes.
You got it.
My eyes are keeping up with it.
Well, oh, you're so.
I can't keep
Just-
up with this, Gene.
I don't see it. I don't see a 2.5B
I don't
All
either.
right, why don't we move on from that and I will, let
Well,
me,
I understand that, but then I'm trying to understand what it is that's trying to be changed, right? Like, so I guess, yeah, put that in as a note.
yeah, I will, while you guys keep discussing and I keep taking notes, I will look that up.
Okay.
Because then it's like, revise it to read
Exactly.
this, but I don't,
You got no place to start.
You don't see the old versus the new, that were the
Right.
old, going into, okay.
All right.
because then the question is, what are we revising? What's the intent?
And what are these being changed to?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe if I put in, yeah, I was trying to put in keywords to see what pops up, and I cannot figure out what this section is about or what it means at all.
Okay,
Okay,
yep, I'm looking it up right now. You guys keep going and I'll listen and take notes and
all right,
that way we don't get hung up
We're
on
on
this one.
55 zoning.
all right.
The section, the 155, it just says no revision required.
No, and then you go to the next page is about ADUs. Well, it's about definition of families,
Yes,
which I wrote, we
So
were
we're on
discussing in the
56.
ADU conversation, so.
yeah. So, anything on that one, 56? We don't have anything either.
I think that they're looking, like, these are suggestions, right? And that's what they're looking for, is feedback on this. Because every time in the code it says a single family dwelling, so many family dwelling. So that's, now they're like, what does family mean?
But I thought in the ADU conversation, that was fairly well defined by the board already.
And I think they've got,
I think they have a solid
yeah, they've
definition
already
of it.
got that. I think what they're looking for from this group here is pertaining to what you guys deal with as far as zoning and stuff. They've got I think they're working on the definition for that, just like you said with the ADU. It's just gotta be changed in the code.
Right, but that definition would then go into this section.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well,
So,
for purposes, but this section, aren't we saying, for purposes of everything that's in the code, family is defined as X. right?
That is-
Yes,
On page
The intent.
56, and it's that parens two, that's what they want to use, right?
no, they haven't decided what to use.
Oh, well, okay, so
Yeah.
they're looking for
They're-
feedback.
Mhm.
The board's working on the definition for that, yes.
But they did have at the ADU conversation, they had a suggested
Right,
like definition.
yeah, but that was before the code, so they hadn't implemented it yet into the code review.
Correct.
Right.
Understand. So,
Let me
but we don't have
let
that
me
on us to
clarify.
see what they were.
In the code, there's a definition of family.
Yes,
The definition of family will prove everything that's in the code.
Mhm.
My recommendation is if for ADUs, you want to use a different definition of family, it should go in the ADU section. I don't think you need to harken back.
If it differentiates.
But my understanding was that they were, and I only say ADU
Yeah.
because they were discussing it
Yes.
as part of that conversation, was that once they changed the definition of family, it was throw out.
Everything, it doesn't have to be,
Okay.
is what I'm saying. I think that should be discussed.
Do we want to define, is that something we need to add, Carrie, is that family, when you say family, is it gonna be different under ADUs?
Right.
That would make sense.
Because that, otherwise, you're kind of, tailoring family to meet the ADU, which is an anomaly, rather than going with, for all purposes, this is family.
Well, what you could do is the purpose of the family be specific for ADU and then it's.
That's what I'm saying.
Together. So if you have it specific under ADU, a family structured this way, to be tailored to ADU, then it needs, it's fit specifically for ADUs and then it can be used everywhere else.
I think what the board is trying to do as far as this family definition is to get outside of using the word family, because I could have 2 or 3 roommates living with me that aren't family, and we're generating the same cost as a 3-family resident, a mom and a dad and a kid. Am I right
Yeah,
in thinking that?
their use of family is more for the services provided to a structure.
But I think what Jamie's saying is that when it comes to ADUs, maybe we need to look at it differently.
Would this have even come up if we were talking about ADUs?
Probably,
Well, yeah, because the
I
group
think
that
the
reviewed this,
guidelines qualify as ADU, should not necessarily, yeah.
aside from ADUs, the group that reviewed this back in 2019 said that we needed to clarify the definition of family. So,
Could, we don't, yeah.
but let's see what our
it's a recommendation.
is.
Yes.
This is the current definition, right?
Our current definition for family is I think it's 4 lines, 3 lines.
Oh,
An individual, 2 or more persons related by blood, marriage, adoption, or guardianship, a group of not more than 4 persons not related by blood, marriage, adoption. So they limit 4 people living in a dwelling unit as a family. So if you have a house that you are renting out to 5 individuals, you are renting to
Borders,
2 families.
right, or borders, like
Yes.
they're not related, or I guess they're trying to, this was a typical definition back in the day, to limit, like a boarding house, right? So they're saying, hey, if you've got all these people, they're not related, then you're running a boarding house, basically. And they picked this number more than 4. This is a very, I guess, we can't solve this. It's an ongoing discussion, but I think that what they need is comments about when they're defining family, to keep in mind that what they might want for family on an ADU could be different from what they want for a family, like you've got a single family dwelling. And now somebody's renting out every room in the house, right? To people who don't live together, they lock their doors, right? Come in, you can commonly use the kitchen, you can have a lock on your door, that's generally not a family, right?
So are you thinking for the ADUs, you're using family as a guideline that people get an ADU? Is that what you're trying, the reasoning behind it? Like the actual definition of a family versus a family that can,
For purposes of an ADU,
correct? Is that what you're thinking? That's what
maybe, it's a discussion item, right? Go ahead.
I'm just wondering how much of this would come up if ADUs weren't being talked about.
But they are.
I know, but it's
Right, but
sort of
that's,
like you're comparing apples and oranges. Well, you have a single family unit, here you go, and here's what constitutes family, but then you want to build
an
an
ADU,
ADU
Yes.
and what constitutes, and then who was it that said, 400 square feet or something like that?
Yeah.
Limiting the size, well, you're not gonna have, are you gonna have that many people in there?
Well, I think it also pertains to, group homes. If you were to put a group home in an
no, a
R1.
group home has all kinds of you can't even talk about it. Group homes, you have all kinds of exemptions, they're allowed in
Everywhere.
everywhere and so forth.
They fall under state.
Yeah, it's a whole different thing. So I don't think it's fair to talk about group homes. I'm talking more about, just like trying to get a comment to the town board suggesting that
They keep in mind
the
ADUs.
general definition of family may need to be different from how it's applied in an ADU.
It can't be generalized
Is
across.
It's a starting point.
I think it also
Can I
keeps in
ask
mind
why
the
not?
requirement.
In what? Why would you not have the same definition?
Why would you want them to be different?
I think it's the requirements to get an ADU, is that what you're thinking?
Because,
Because I'm almost looking at this whole thing, like I said a minute ago, I'm looking at this holistically, it's like the overall, at least this part of it.
but let's say you got a
I see.
definition, okay, here's the main thing. You've got a single family dwelling. Who can live in your single family dwelling? A family. Right?
Me and my kinfolk. Or unrelated kinfolk.
And a few unrelated kinfolk, living as a family, right? That's what I'm talking about, right? I don't have an answer to this is a discussion, and it's a very difficult,
Tough discussion.
Anson's family was something different.
well, if they lived together as a unit and they all shared all the common space and they went and come and go with each other and live there kind of in a permanent way, they're family, possibly. But like the thing about blood relation and being a family is a lifelong situation. But if you have a single family dwelling and you have just bought that single family dwelling and you're like, I'm going to rent this. I have 6 bedrooms in this house. I'm gonna rent it to 6 unrelated people. Everybody locks their doors. They only have an entrance to go in this way. It's not a family anymore.
Correct.
It's a boarding house.
Right.
In a single family neighborhood, you want a boarding house. Because if you don't have some commonality or some definition of family, your single family neighborhood can be
Or in-house row.
anything.
Well, I think you're right. I think the discussions of the definition of family needs to keep in mind the ADUs and maybe tailor the definition of family under ADUs to be blanketed all across. So maybe they specifically, you write the definition of family. It's defined as under ADU and you use that definition for all.
I disagree. That's not what I'm saying.
Oh, no, it's not what you're saying?
I see.
Okay,
No, I
I'm
see.
saying
It's
the
a
opposite.
separate-
you see it separate?
No, what she's explaining, I'm not quite sure where I stand on either at the
So
moment. It's hard to
if, now you're in
Yeah.
ADU law, and the ADU law possibly could say, notwithstanding anything to the contrary in this code, for purposes of an ADU unit, a family is defined as blank.
So that they could
Like,
Okay.
further micro
I
divide.
see where you're going.
Yeah.
That- That is merit, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
Thank you for explaining.
Yeah.
but why
Where are
can't,
you going with?
Trying to enforce this.
Because you're gonna get, what you're saying is, get the broadest definition possible. I'm saying.
no, get specific, so it does tailor to ADU and use that specific.
Yeah, I think I understand, and that's what you want,
But that's not.
no, I think to accomplish that, it's the opposite, say what a family is, you have a single family home, you have a 2-family home, and all of that. And then you've got ADUs. And when you talk about ADUs, don't go back to this definition of
You be more
family.
specific.
It'll be a
Okay.
separate,
You hear that, Carrie? Yep.
separate
I've got it written
definition.
down.
Do you guys agree with that?
Yes.
I understand what you're saying, because
I know.
if people don't have an ADU on their property,
Then,
you refer back to what was already there.
Yeah.
yes,
However, when you
Yes.
decide to put an ADU on your property, now it gets a little more dicey.
right, now it's like, okay, who can go there, et cetera, and.
You get more teeth.
Right, and I guess the main thing, and I guess the best example I can say, and I repeat myself, is a family is not a boarding house. Right, that's,
Worked out well in the Great Depression, but not now.
well, or unless the board's like, listen, we don't care who lives in any neighborhood for any purpose. If you buy a house and you're an investor and you wanna rent it to 20 people, God bless your soul. I don't think that's what this board wants. On that same token, and that's why it gets dicey, you don't wanna discriminate on what people consider their family.
Be curious what the other folks have to say about this.
Well, then I think it's good though. I think, having that discussion is needed, and that's the feedback that we'll give to them.
And yeah, if everybody is just living their own life in a room, in a house, in a single-family neighborhood, is that,
But if somebody sublets a bedroom, that's it.
It's like Syracuse University housing.
Oh,
well, they've struggled with that for years, and they finally just gave up, honestly, so yeah.
I think this is gonna get struck.
They just buy hotels.
Right.
Get turkey. Turkey, okay.
Well, I mean, it gets, right, Tim, it gets dicey, like, you're gonna go after one person who's kind of running out of room to get extra.
Like I know people that work at the hospital that like, they have like a traveler nurse that come in and live in a bedroom and,
And that's interesting,
you know.
because let's talk about the fact that the person does actually live there. So when you're living at home, you're a little more careful about who's with you. So do they become sort of part of your family for that period of time that they're
They're
there?
good grad students too.
Yeah.
And it's a question to ask
Exchange.
because with the increase in development that is proposed to happen in this region, then it's something to consider, define it.
Right, so you have a house, you rent out a
You know,
room,
Jack,
but you live there.
So you're suggesting this is a good starting point, that we need to have something, because I can see all kinds of problems coming up, like, how do you enforce this? How
And
do
it
you
makes
check
it more
this?
Yes.
How do you verify it?
Right.
I can see-
Well, the easiest thing is an absentee owner, or, you know, who's literally renting out to people, but again, it's easy to talk about, it's much harder to put in words. But I think as a beginning recommendation, if you guys agree, it would be, don't try to tailor your family definition to the ADU issues. Try to tailor it to traditional, how you want the single family dwelling to operate. You have an ADU. Let's talk about that as a separate definition. Carrie, does that
Makes
sense?
sense. Oh, that Carrie.
Carrie with the C?
Yes.
Okay, yep.
I'm gonna start calling her Sari.
Okay,
All right.
okay. Now we are on to,
Those are not easy discussions. I really don't have any answers to it.
That section just makes sense, and we already discussed that, so what's gonna happen to them.
yeah, non-conforming.
And you can almost skip your page 59, because the other stuff is already changed.
Yeah, this is all changed.
The only question I have on 59, at the bottom of 59, it refers to the town environmental council.
That's gone.
Yeah, that's good.
Right. So does that come out of here?
Yeah, it's going to.
Okay, it should say all that, right?
Yeah, so if you look on the next page, it says replace town environmental council with town engineer.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all gonna be taken out and replaced. Okay.
The only thing I have, which is applicable for the ZBA heavily, is the non-conforming use. They put that definition in there.
I'm about to look up, see if there's other definitions that are better.
We have a whole non-conforming use chapter, 155, 33 through 30.
Can you pull that up?
Yes.
Oh, you got it.
So there is our non-conforming use chapter. And it goes down from existing building, change of occupancy, deconstruction of damaged or destroyed non-conforming use, continuation, alteration, extension, abandonment, change to higher classification, district changes. What happens with the non-conforming use, we see it a lot, is where a home is already not in compliance, so it is a non-conforming use, and and you guys are seeing a lot of them when they go to add on in line with their building, and they need the variance because their home is non-conforming already.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if we have any issues with that.
Well,
Like the house in Richmond,
Yes.
yeah.
where do they want to put?
They
this
just wanted to
definition
put it right in the definition
Of non-conform, or
of
definitions?
under the general definitions of zoning. I don't know if that's,
It's not contradictory,
I don't think it needs to be there. I don't think you
because
need
there's
that.
already a separate section for
Correct.
it. Okay.
We just say C, definition.
Because it already talks about non-conforming use, authority, any lawfully existing non-conforming use. Well, maybe they're saying, well, what's a non-conforming use?
and we define a non-conforming use throughout this, right?
Throughout that section, they do.
Throughout
Well, we've got structural enlargement, that's a non-conforming structure. You know what? You're right, but this talks about non-conforming okay. No use shall be expanded, enlarged, or increased in intensity. If you're going to define non-conforming use, you also need to define non-conforming structure.
Because what they have
They're
here is we have
separate
existing buildings, right? Nothing in these, right? Prohibit construction as change or plans of present buildings. That's an existing building. Restrictions or
Okay,
prohibitions shall construe as changing the plans or use of present buildings, and that goes, there's the change of occupancy. Continuation is, because most of these are a use, so these two define use of it, which would be your mercantile, residential, commercial, things of that nature, and then 155-37, a non-conforming building or structure. So this goes into structure.
right.
And abandonment, whenever a non-conforming use has been discontinued. So I don't know if it's needed. I just didn't know if we should be preparing with this non-conforming uses and structures chapter for the proposal of switching to a form-based zoning.
I don't know what you're saying.
Have you talked to, well, has anybody spoken to the ZBA or you, Jamie, about the town switching to a form-based zoning code instead
But
of?
that's like not what we're working with right now.
Okay,
So
so don't worry about
don't worry
trying to,
about that right now,
then,
but because that's a whole, if we do that, it's just a whole
Rewrite of zoning,
rewrite of zoning.
okay,
But
that's good then.
in the.
I didn't know if we wanted to tailor non-conforming uses towards that,
Not right now.
okay.
I think that's a can of worms.
The cart before the horse.
Yeah,
Clean this up first and then.
Then we'll, if things change,
Then
there's
we'll
some lead over,
For your,
that'll be workshops every day.
bigger ticket item to look at in the future.
In the future.
Yeah.
But as of right now, we're not gonna put in the non-conforming use into the definition, correct?
I think it'll be, I'd like to know why they're thinking that.
Can they just say C definition of non-conforming?
I don't
So we've
know.
got two non-conforming uses. You've got a building that's perfectly fine. It's within all the setbacks and it's being used as a gas station. But that's not, so they can keep using it as a gas station until it's not used as a gas station anymore. That's a use, that's a non-conforming use.
It has a special use permit.
No,
In most cases,
let's just assume it's just been there for
Just there.
500 years. It's not, once that use goes away, you can't put that use back in, right? It goes away. It's a non-conforming use. It can stay as long as it stays. Now you've got a non-conforming structure. It's really close to the road. It's too big for the lot. There's not enough parking. That's a non-conforming structure. So this non-conforming use, so, and there, now someone comes in and like, I want to keep using this building the way it is.
Is it,
So
is
there's,
it built, was it built in 1990 conforming, or was it
Well,
built
that's-
in
it
1950
talks about-
when there was no zoning?
legally non-conforming.
If you built it in 1950 when there was nothing, it would be legal non-conforming. If you built it in 1990 when it met the 1990 codes, it would be legal non-conforming.
You know what, I am going to say that I do like that definition. Because it's saying it's the use of a building, structure or lot lawfully existing.
So then you're saying keep it in there?
Recommend the addition of it.
I thought it was good to just put it
I
there.
don't know, because it's not conforming use and a
Just because
non-conforming
it defines it in
structure.
that section.
Can a non-conforming structure continue to stand?
Yes.
The answer is yes, as long as it's not enlarged, right?
And if it's demolished, it has to be rebuilt within 1 year.
Right. So, but a non-conforming use is you're using a building in a way you can't use it. So that's really the issue. If I can put that out as a comment for further discussion, Carrie. That
Non-conforming
we
What
need to
use for it? What are
distinguish,
you going to use
we
it
need
for?
to distinguish between a non-conforming structure and a non-conforming use of a structure, whether it's non-conforming. So it could use clarification, but this is not gonna do that, in my opinion.
Between structure and use.
You know, non-conforming structure is a structure that doesn't need code anymore. Whether it was there legally or not, just doesn't need the code anymore. You can't enlarge that structure. That's the idea. Use, you can't use it. You can keep using the use
The way it is.
the way it is, but not going forward. So I would suggest that this needs a rework, maybe 2 definitions.
Structure versus use.
Yeah, a non-conforming structure versus.
I agree with
non-conforming
that.
use.
That makes sense.
Okay,
Okay, there we go.
all right. so
More
we-
questions than answers, but it's a discussion point.
Well, look at the place on 173 that was the cannabis dispensary portable.
Mhm.
That used to be a car lot. Sold cars out of the building. And then it got turned into temporary for selling cannabis. The building wasn't expanded. The sign's still on the building.
Mhm.
Well, as an insurance agent, after the car lot.
So
That he's further towards the village.
selling of cars, it would be a non-conforming use.
It would be a structure.
right? Now,
I'm just
yeah,
thinking
you're
that
trying to get
they
it
used this,
disabled, yeah.
they were selling sobs off of that building for a couple of years
Mhm.
back in the 90s.
Okay.
And that became the temporary dispensary
Mhm.
building, which the sign is still up, by the way.
Mhm.
And now the building hasn't changed, it's still the same size building.
So there might be two things going on there. One is that non-conforming use is gone, it can't come back.
Right,
The other is, there's a non-conforming structure, and the law currently says you can continue to do the legal uses, whatever is legal in the non-conforming structure, it can't expand it. What
Right,
that
if
does,
somebody wanted to move in to make that into like an office building,
they can do it,
they could do it because it's a conforming use. So,
but the building itself might be non-conforming. I don't know
Whereas
the answer on that.
the cannabis thing was on 90-day special use
temporary,
permit, temporary permit, yeah.
at the time, temporary.
Okay,
Okay.
Yes.
all right. Page 60, still on,
Yep.
all right, anything for,
So I just have a question on this one, and I don't know if this is a Jamie or a Tom question, but, I've followed along obviously with a lot of the solar projects that have happened here. And I get what they're saying in here, but so the charge, if a lien is placed on the property, so then the new property owner is responsible to pay that lien when purchasing that property to dispose of and get rid of whatever's left behind with the
They're
solar
not
project?
required to, they can take it with
Well,
the lien
But
on it.
my question is when we're approving these projects, is that something factored into the agreement that they have with the town? So like, for example, the one on Green Lakes Road, that's by DeMario's, or Haven Street Farm there.
Mhm.
If they all of a sudden said, okay, we're done, and leave everything behind,
Mhm.
is, from the way this is defined, is the town on the hook, or it, not necessarily the town, because then the lien is placed on the property, so the new owner would then be responsible.
Well, the town
Remove.
the town puts a lien on the property. If they wanted to do something, they have to go to court, to demolish it or fix it or do whatever. The town can't just go in and take it over. It's just a lien.
No, I know, it's the way that it reads, is if you were to, if somebody abandoned that property, right? Then I wanted to buy the property
It'll
afterwards.
be a lien.
It'd be a lien that I'd have to, and I'd be responsible then for the removal of what was left behind.
Well, if you're responsible for the removal of the lien, so you negotiate with the town and say, how can I remove this lien?
Right. But is there a
They
way
can't see anything, so not
to,
sure.
Yes.
when coming into those agreements with the town board, to
No, because I'm not.
have some sort of a clause in there, like their requirement to remove the property when that project's completed?
Remove the word.
so you're talking about the current owners of the solar farm have to remove the
Yes.
stuff on the property. So if you're gonna put a solar farm in, there needs to be solar farm done.
So-
That's my question.
Tim.
Is that something that's done now?
We're trying to find the amendment, because if I'm listening to you correctly, you're talking about section I on
Yes.
page
Yeah.
60.
Exactly.
That's been amended since 2022, so the wording that's there is not the current wording.
Okay.
So
I
he's
thought
trying
it
to,
had changed, and that's where I was confused.
yeah, that's why it says anything in the red next to it, it's either been amended or that's where we
Okay.
reached out to read it.
Okay.
So that's already been amended. He's trying
Not that,
to find that.
and again, not that I see any of these new solar projects, I'm just up and leaving.
Right.
I'd like to clarify in there if that's something, I had two questions. My one question was, is that something when those contracts are negotiated, is there a clause in those contracts to say, hey, you're responsible?
They give us a 30-year bond.
Okay, so then they're locked for,
We have money for, and what the decommissioning bond specifies is that, like, they'll try and say that you can scrap the metal of it, or you can scrap things and recoup money. Most of the time, those aren't accepted as part of the money that would be for the decommissioning bond. So you can't count the scrapped value of the project. You have to add that money into the
But there
bond,
is a
and then with
bond in
that
there.
30-year bond, yeah, they have When I'm not sure when it goes into effect, that's a Protesky question. But there are 30-year bonds and they are managed by either Dan or our comptroller.
I just got thinking like, you know, if, again, using that one place as the example, if all of a sudden we needed to, there's not a whole lot of building space left in the town, right? Let's say they abandoned it, let's say they're going to, and you wanted to go in and be a developer and build a development there, would you then be on the hook to remove?
I think the town has the money with the decommissioning bond. Okay.
So that's, yeah, that
Use
clarifies
that bond to remove and
If it's sufficient.
I would consider it like an environmental where you have an industrial place dump a bunch of stuff and now there's like having to clean it all up.
Yeah, but
There's funds, the bond.
then you
would be the
look
one
at
to-
the old O'Brien gear, that wasn't factored in because that's Brownfield site.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
or like the old gas stations, right, where they, you know, the new owner's responsible for the remediation of the old property. you know?
yeah. Yeah, so
So,
that 30-year bond is
decommissioning.
already, that would be
and those are all reviewed by
this
the,
next year.
That's,
Okay, sorry.
No,
I'm
you're fine.
asking a lot of questions, but
Okay.
No, you're fine.
So
I
we're on
obviously read it in
page-
depth.
Where are we at now? Page 40?
61 is the last page.
Yep, so anything, remove section of alternates.
So what are they saying? They don't want to have, ever to have the option to do alternate board members?
Yes,
They're like, we don't want alternates ever?
we don't want to bring an alternate in to stand in somebody's place for a meeting or,
So,
I think the way that I look at it is, you've got enough people to hold quorum even if one person's missing, right? And there's been stuff where, like, I've recused myself, one of them, other people have, right, when people come in. So you can still carry on business without having an alternate.
why
in
would
place.
you remove it?
I didn't have that,
Why would you remove
That's
it?
just
It's an option.
my interpretation, but.
It's an option to have it, so most boards have it, most boards try to fill alternate positions. And one of the reasons to have an alternate is the alternate usually comes to the meetings and learns about zoning board work, or learns about planning board work. So then, when a vacancy comes up, they might move into that full-time position. If it doesn't matter about a quorum, let's say there's 5 members, and you're like, you know what, it's gonna be better if there's 6 here. Can you come? Can you sit? Can you learn about this project? I don't understand
But if
why it would be removed.
at that point, you bring in, let's say you had an extra person, right? And they're coming to all of the meetings, why aren't they on the board?
Because there's no space on the board.
Right. So you're looking at it more as like a succession planning type thing.
Most boards pick it up as a succession planning idea, and also the alternate is saying, maybe I want to do this, right? So they're not obligated. It's not obligatory on the town board to do it. It's not so why take it out? Why take out something that's there?
we'll recommend it.
No, not me, that's me, that's my recommendation. I'm
yeah, I'd wanna know what the.
Do they have
why you
something else
wanna
in
do
mind?
this.
Do they have anything else? in
Why do
mind?
you-
so let me,
why?
can I stop you guys just for 1 second? The ones that are highlighted in the yellow,
Mhm.
the board did not make those decisions.
Okay.
Those were decisions that myself, Tom, Allison, and
Oh,
Lisa,
understood.
when we sat, and Sarah on some of them, when we sat down as a group, we looked at these and said these were low-impact decisions, and these were our suggestions,
I think it's a
not-
high impact decision.
not the board's.
Yeah.
And then we gave it to the board to
Yeah.
review, and that's what we discussed at the last
Okay.
work session. And the things that are written in red in your packets are the things that we asked to be reviewed. So
Okay.
that needed the reviewing, the additional, the big ticket number or big ticket items. So that's kind of where we were supposed to go today, was look at the spots in red that required additional consideration. So I guess maybe it was a little confusing, but the yellow is not what the board didn't make that decision. That was something the group made.
Well, I guess then my recommendation would be to bring it back to the board, that's a high impact decision.
Sure.
To remove that, section on alternates and.
We don't even have a section on alternates.
Yeah, we do. 155.
No, it says town,
Am I looking at the wrong,
it says town law allows for such.
wait a second. No, am I looking at the wrong code here? Because I have a few codes pulled up.
So they're suggesting that we establish alternates.
Yes, we do
Is
not
what
have alternates.
code
right
is
now.
is
Oh, am I?
suggesting. That's a suggestion from codes. And our group suggested not to add the alternates.
Because we don't have it right now.
So if you look up just above where it says L, it says sections 155 through 46
I'm in the wrong code.
through 155 through 49 pertain to Board of Appeals. Note that town law 267 subdivision 11 authorizes the town board to establish alternate member positions as follows. So they're suggesting that we add that section.
No,
It says remove section.
I'm right here. Planning board alternate members. I'm in.
That's planned, this is for zoning board. 155-49,
Yeah, and we have a 155-49.4 planning board alternate members.
but that's not the zoning board. Right now, we don't have zoning board alternates.
Well, okay, so nor do we have planning board alternates.
But you could have, but under local law, we could start having planning board alternates. It
so-
allows you to do
I
such,
guess this
right?
is unfair, because this is under 155-49.4. So if you're not saying, see, it says remove section on alternates.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
Carrie?
That was my notes. So the yellow, the remove section on alternates, that was my notes to say no, not to put it in there. That us as a group decided not to add section 11 to 155-46 and 155-49.
So if you're in
Because it didn't
155-49, can you go down to
Because it
11?
only has to do with zoning.
We don't
board of
have it.
appeals members.
Well, no, you have 155
But 155
dash 49.1, so keep scrolling down. This is
I see
four.
what you're saying,
Five.
Gary. They were saying, you
Go-
should
is there
add
anything
this,
else? Is there an 11?
and you're saying, no,
Keep going
we
down.
shouldn't.
That,
And I took it to mean you wanted to
remove it, yes, I apologize. The wording on
Keep
that was
That's it.
not the correct wording. It should have been not, no revision desired.
for zoning board.
Yes.
So, now the question is,
Do we add it?
do we add it? Is it the recommendation of this board then? It is there for planning board, it's not utilized. Do you add it for ZBA?
Is that something we wanna look at now? Do we need it? I don't think we're going for it.
Well,
Well,
haven't needed it.
We haven't needed it, but
Neither
But
has
you
the planning
could.
board.
but if something happened to three of us.
Well,
You would be
Why would the planning
reappointed.
board, why would the planning board be considering that?
Well, it's already in there for planning board.
If something was to happen to three of you, your positions would be reappointed,
Okay.
no,
right?
I think that the town
Like
law.
physically something happens to you.
This talks about temporary though.
But if you were to relinquish your position on the ZBA,
You'd be reappointed.
someone would be reappointed, correct?
But in here, it talks about like,
Having someone already
instance-
selected for it.
in the instance because of a conflict of interest,
Like
basically.
Tim's brother, when he applied for the pool.
Shed.
The shed, I sat out that one.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So then we would have an alternate in the audience to come up and take your place.
Correct.
I would suggest,
But
that,
we didn't because we had quorum without me.
I would suggest that there would be an alternate, provision in the town code for zoning board. Now I understand your words better here, but that it mirror the one that we've got about planning board.
There's still a quorum if,
I'm not talking about quorum, I'm
well,
talking about.
when Tim sat out, right? When Tim sat out and if Warren wasn't here, there'd still be a quorum, right, with three people?
Yes.
You just need 3 for one.
So I just wanted, like, 2 people would have to be missing, 1 person would have to sit out for our planning board not to be effective.
Zoning board.
Zoning board.
So,
One of those boards.
one of them.
So
But I think
I
it'd be
think,
beneficial
an
to
alternate,
have it.
an alternate should be considered, but I don't think, this is the right clause, this is only about conflicts.
So maybe that's for further discussion.
Yeah,
Or like you said, they have it
This
the
is
same
fine.
definition as what the planning board has.
right.
I think that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Mirror what planning board
Near planning
has.
board and then you're good.
Mhm.
So you can have an
Just-
alternate.
Just, substitute, replace out zoning board for planning board, and there you go. There's your paragraph.
Okay.
All right,
But don't remove that, which is what I thought was going on, that it was being removed.
Okay.
Okay.
this is all this reference
Yep.
back here. Can we go back to page 1?
Oh, page 1.
Hold on, 1.
So is all this reference
It's
to,
America, runner up, runner 1, runner up, runner 2.
You never know how
You need to
many.
fill in case they can't do it. Who avoids them?
can you clarify for me before we go back to page 1?
But it's all, well, anyway.
The parts in here, like we're at the end, these samples requested by the town, like I know we've discussed the chicken
You
thing a
know what I
couple
mean?
years
It's
ago.
like kind of like a.
Was this just because these are things that they're thinking about? Is that why they were asked for?
The ones there, because it happened in 2019, were, I think a lot of them have been,
A lot of it's been covered.
yeah.
It probably has.
Okay.
Chickens we've done, food trucks are done under the operating permit,
Yep,
storage pods we have not.
that hasn't been discussed in obviously, we just discussed the next one.
Sure, yeah.
Drones haven't been discussed, but was this something that was why that was there?
Yeah, that was probably things that they were just looking at and requesting suggestions for.
We should recommend that the planning board looks at dark sky compliant lighting, because there's nothing in our code stating that you have to have dark sky compliant lighting.
Agreed.
Until the planning board says you have to.
But for existing buildings,
I don't.
so any existing building does not, if Tops was to redo their lighting down there, they might have a site plan.
If they need a
But-
site plan, it can be recommended.
So,
Yes,
Wasn't Botar a thing with lighting?
Yeah.
That was a
yeah.
lighting issue.
So
existing buildings don't have it, so if you put a,
so it's dated from 2019. Was this reviewed again to see if there were any changes of other things that have changed, like on a state level that have to be complied?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, I thought so, I just,
Anyway, good job, team. Really,
Can we
good job.
jump to 89 for a second?
You didn't stop the video.
no,
Peddling and soliciting,
page 89,
page 29.
29, okay, I was gonna start at 7, but cool.
So 29.
I just have a couple of questions, Jamie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, Warren, you wanna do 29?
I'm just wondering, we were in the workshop, we were talking about peddlers and people coming into neighborhoods,
Mhm.
and it got kind of glossed over. And I remember a couple times where somebody would come down the street where I live saying, oh, your neighbors just decided to hire us for pest control around
Right.
the yard. And they start naming names of people at the other end of the block, thinking that you're not gonna check with them or whatever.
Mhm.
That's happened quite a few times in my neighborhood.
Yeah, there was one company that Allison had to shut down a couple of times.
So what is your,
I'm just wondering, if, has there been any discussion on the town board about that I might have missed?
what has to happen is there has to be a,
license, right?
yeah, we have to receive a complaint, so either the police are called or really the police are notified,
If you got somebody in the neighborhood doing this?
yes.
And they need a permit to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the
Or-
police will
Or
contact,
we just paved this guy's driveway and we have extra tar, would you like, we'll give you a deal on this.
yeah, yeah,
They still need
it's
a
something like
permit.
that. If you've
Yeah.
got someone that is going door to door doing stuff like that, then you need to call the police. They're gonna go up to them, find out if they have a permit. If they don't have one to show them, then they're gonna call us to see if we have one on file. And then if we don't, then the police will handle it however they see fit.
I mean, if it really is somebody right next door, they'll probably be like, hey.
Yeah, no, that's always down the block.
Yeah.
There was a guy from Windstream trying to sell me, high-speed internet.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, well, Windstream, they're in the town,
Mhm.
that'd probably be legit,
Mhm.
but
You still need the.
I think,
3
So-
times in the same year.
Separate exemption.
I would say, for
from
example, Warren, we have mosquito pest control, right?
Mhm.
The neighbors put out a thing saying what neighbors want to get together.
Yeah.
And so we said the direction was, you need to call them and tell them you're with this neighborhood. They can't approach you, the neighbors can approach them,
Mhm.
but they can't approach you. If they approach you, then they have to have a license.
Correct.
That would be the discussion,
But
right?
I'll say, time for one more. Then you're on.
That
So
was one in my
page-
head.
Page what?
Page 10,
Yeah?
it just talks about the code of ethics. Is that ethics review board? That's part of that discussion, right?
Yeah, that's
Town board
currently
level.
under the
That's on
board
board
review.
level. Yeah, okay. Just trying to really quickly see if there's anything that. Dog, no.
Carrie, just one other thing, and I know you have nothing to do in your new position, but if you have just some quick bullet points of the suggestions that were made by this
Yeah.
august board to send to Valerie.
Yeah.
So she'll say, hey, these were discussed at ZBA, do you agree with these? That would be
And
it.
send it to us too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right,
Right.
that's the,
If you wanna give me Claire's, I'll take Claire's. And,
I wrote notes and everything.
oh, did you write notes on it?
So you can take it down there.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
No, absolutely.
Okay. Anything else?
Let's see, so on chapter 48, page 19.
Bye, Jamie.
Bye, Jamie.
Bye, Jamie. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
It says the board review added a definition of public.
Yeah,
Can you just explain what it, so
if you wanna have
they're
it,
gonna define a public assembly?
Are we gonna get you going on this again?
well,
Oh, is this a hot one?
I just don't know where we stand. Yeah, you have to go into Carrie's office. And if you wanna have a wedding, or if you want to, what they did at, Wood Truck Hill Preserve, which was a fundraising event, you have to come in and get approval through the town board. And there's this fine line of, you wanna have a wedding on your private property, do you need to come in and get town board approval for it?
I don't think
That's
so.
it.
And that's what we're trying to
Yeah,
get
but it's
done.
not public, it's a private,
Well,
Invitation
the
only?
public's coming to your property, right? Like,
but it's not
But
a
if I,
public event.
let's say I
But what
rented out,
But what happens if I decided that, okay, I'm gonna, my son's got a band.
I think that's.
Thank God he doesn't, but if he did, and we just threw up flyers and had people come over to our house.
That's a public event. 'Cause
That's
anybody
where
can
we
come in.
need, but it's on my private property. That's where we're trying to get that
What is,
definition.
but for, like, the other side of that, so if let's pretend for a minute that like Mill Run Park is part of the town, no, it's obviously not. And I had a graduation party there and 150 people showed up. And the town owned that property, I'd have to get, well, actually, if you were renting that, you would
You have to get a permit
that in
anyway
place.
for it.
Okay.
To rent out.
it is a large number, it's 250 people, which isn't,
Well, when you cross a certain threshold, you're actually required by like New York State Fire Code
yeah,
to do a ICS and all that stuff. And
I think that's probably where this is coming into
again, so
play,
there's
but
proper resources available should a problem happen.
I think if you have no control over who's coming, that is a public. If you have control or like it's invitation only and you have a list of, that's a private. I think if you say, anybody can come, a band, just walk on the property, that's a public. But if you specifically invite friends and family over for a private event and someone can't just walk into the event, that's a private.
And I think that's what we're trying to get
Okay.
them to,
We can do kegger.
What if you have a giant yard sale? You got a lot of property, you put up a tent and you're having a 3-day yard sale, public coming to buy.
and that's what we're trying to get them to
Yeah.
give us a better definition on. is make that a little bit more clearer. Because you can't control how many people are gonna come onto your property if you're having a garage sale. You could have 150 people show up at once, and now is it public? Or is it still your
People have,
property?
I mean, there's
Yeah.
garage sales going on all the time. Look at across from the high school, that whole neighborhood has garage sale once a year.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Huge, people all over the place.
and Bay Manor has one too.
Yeah.
Not big, but.
Page 22, section C at the bottom. I didn't really understand where that was coming from. It's confusing.
First areas of public assembly defined in part 606, apparently from perfect reference.
I'll let the town board deal with that one.
Which one was it?
59C,
Yeah,
don't even look at it. Anything in chapter 59 has been rewritten by New York State.
okay.
And rewritten, on 21, rewritten as, retained as written in 2022, entire chapter was given to us by the great New York State for exactly what we need to put in there.
That's perfect, thank you.
So as long as New York State's attorneys did their due diligence, then we have done ours, because we adopted exactly what the state told us to.
And you're kind of doing the same thing with chapter 63 too, right?
That's my hope. We can expand
So-
on it, but
Is
I'm
this-
hoping the general property maintenance code, which allows us to secure buildings,
Yeah,
will circumvent a lot of the things that go into unsafe buildings, like unauthorized entry by people, things of that nature. We'll just be able to go board and secure without having to go through the unsafe building chapter. We'll be able to go through our property maintenance chapter.
so then what you've got on the back of page 24, you got, that's you and the board figuring all that out with that.
That's what you can do. There's a
Right.
lot, or
There's a ton.
but do we want
Cause
that?
this would be like, for example, that house off of, Manlius Center Road on that one side street, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, that
Would fall
is,
into this,
yes, you could.
even though it's bank owned.
Do you want to take it to our local court, or do we want to take it to the town? That's like the thing, because unsafe buildings is the demolition.
Right.
If we take it to the local court, we can find the property owner.
But if you've got like an abandoned property like that one and the chimney is falling off the house, it's an unsafe structure.
Yes.
I mean, Fremont Road is
But-
is a glaring example of an unsafe structure.
Right.
But do we want,
There's others in the town.
do we want to put that on the town board, or do we want to bring that to court and make the court?
I think you can make the court do it.
That is kind of where I'm hoping the general property maintenance, like if we deem something a hazard under the general property maintenance code, we would be able to go and remediate it.
Okay.
But chimneys and things like that, I would send to court generally. If no court item action can be taken, then we would be able to do that. But I'm hoping one of the two other chapters would be able to get there before then.
I think I missed part of this. Burdick Street, there's a guy who has, there's a house near the end, as you start going up towards the medical center on the right, the chimney has a gaping hole in the side, the bricks are all dilapidated.
Yes.
That's an eyesore.
If though, I mean, yeah, they've been like that since, when I came here, Twin Ponds came about, so that's why those properties kind of stayed as they were. Why previously they weren't addressed, I can't say, but now that there is proposed development there, the court won't really touch them.
So that guy can have that chimney looking like that.
Just
That's
because,
because it's vacant.
just because we're live. Do we have anything else on code? Just because we're still
That's
live,
what I'm trying to.
I wanted to just kind of stick to that. And then we can have all the site.
Let's go to page 33. Okay.
It's page 33.
Yeah, so this just talks about, it's the section on sewers. I know it says here, board to determine if permits are needed. We kind of had that conversation already. So is the license fee for that's only $5? And then it goes below it, and I'm only asking because the next section goes from a $50 penalty to $1,000.
Yes,
So that must just tie into the penal code?
yes.
Okay. I don't-
I just, for that one, it's the compliance aspect of it.
Okay. And then, I think,
Oh, on 34, she did put Clareton, Clinton, there is no Clinton.
oh, yeah. Yeah, where it says McClinton should be McClinton.
Clinton.
In that
Decision
decision,
about
the box that's in bold, with the Gulf Road and Hale,
It's
it's
McClinton,
McClinton.
Clenthen.
Yeah. I know this left in there. And then the last thing I think was just,
No, I think it is in there, but they have it as McClinton
Oh,
in the
yes.
code.
oh,
So
Yes.
it's in as McClinton in the code, so we're asking them to remove McClinton in the
Okay,
code.
got
Good
it.
job on that, 'cause I was like, why did we have this?
Yeah, I was
We
trying
knew
to
it
remember, because I
McClinton,
went
too.
back and forth with Lisa for a little bit on that one, and I had it as something else, and she goes, no, they've got McClinton, and that's not even a street.
So you take it out.
Yeah.
And you
Yes, so
can't-
that's where
and
we're
you
moving
can't
it.
drive your snowmobile on
Yeah, because.
There's a wicked curve on that road.
Yes,
Before you get-
so that is correct, McClinton.
Golf is my favorite road in the town to drive on. It's great. All right, had a question about, on the back of page 38, where it says delete the definition of environmental council, but I don't think it matters anymore because I think
it. The whole thing's
it's going
gone.
away, so
Yes.
never mind. It was really confusing, that whole paragraph. Okay, so then the next part was page 40. So I know, Sarah was working on this, where it says like the fees for each district at the top there.
5375, yeah.
What's so it references to use that for the use of a future park, so that's something that they would have to set up an account and have it earmarked for that?
I believe we have one.
Yeah, I think
Okay,
there's already one there.
It's the,
It's the question on if the fees are being collected or not.
and continual collection.
Yeah,
okay,
If, once
Okay.
established and reviewed, the continual collection of them.
then I'm good.
Warren, did you have anything else?
No,
We're good? All right, we good?
the two that I had got covered already.
All right, meeting adjourned?
Meeting adjourned.
Don't have my gavel.
Oh, so sorry.